I never thought one word could follow me around like a shadow. Weak. That's what she called me, and not just once. She made sure everyone else heard it too. Friends, classmates, even people who barely knew my name. Suddenly, they all had an opinion about me, and none of it was good. It's funny how fast a reputation can spread. One moment you're just another face in the crowd, and the next, you're the punchline of a joke you never asked to be a part of. I can still remember the way people looked at me after she said it. The sideways glances, the smirks, the pity. It was like I wasn't a person anymore, just a label someone else slapped on me. And the worst part? For a while, I almost believed it myself. She wasn't some random stranger, either. She was someone close, someone I thought I could trust. That's what stung the most. You don't expect betrayal to come from the people who sit right next to you, laugh with you, share their secrets with you. But sometimes, the sharpest cuts come from people who know exactly where it hurts. I tried to brush it off at first, told myself it didn't matter, that words are just words. But when enough people repeat the same thing, it starts to echo in your own head. I'd lie awake at night wondering if maybe she was right. Maybe I was weak. Maybe that's all I'd ever be. But then something happened that I didn't see coming. Someone else stepped in, someone I never expected to notice me, let alone defend me. Her sister. And the way she saw me, it was completely different. She didn't look at me like I was a joke or a lost cause. She didn't whisper behind my back. Instead, she said something that turned my entire world upside down. Something that made me question everything I thought I knew about myself. It wasn't a grand speech. It wasn't even loud enough for the whole world to hear. But those words stuck with me. Because for the first time in what felt like forever, someone saw strength in me when all I could see was failure. I wish I could tell you it was simple after that. That one kind word erased the damage. But life doesn't work like that. Her sister's words planted a seed, sure, but seeds don't grow overnight. And in the middle of all the whispers, the gossip, and the constant reminders of how weak I supposedly was, that tiny spark of hope was easy to lose. Still, it was there. And sometimes, all it takes is one person, one unexpected voice, to change the entire direction of your story. What I didn't know then was just how far this would go, or how much her sister's belief in me would end up clashing with the person who started it all. And that clash? It was only the beginning. Before everything blew up, things were normal, I guess. I wasn't the most popular kid at school, but I wasn't invisible either. I had my small group of friends, people who got me, who didn't care if I wasn't the loudest or the strongest. I liked it that way. I didn't need the spotlight. I just wanted peace. But she, let's call her Maya, was different. Maya lived in the spotlight. She was the kind of person who walked into a room and everyone noticed. Smart, funny, sharp with her words. She could make you feel like you mattered or like you were nothing at all, depending on what mood she was in. And the scary part? People believed whatever she said. If Maya decided you were cool, doors opened. If she decided you weren't, well, good luck. At first, I thought we were friends. We'd talk between classes, share snacks, laugh at stupid jokes. She even confided in me sometimes, telling me things she swore no one else knew. That's why it stung so bad when everything shifted. One day, she was laughing with me. The next, she was laughing at me. And soon, so was everyone else. The weak comment started small. She tossed it out during gym class, when I couldn't keep up in a sprint. I didn't think much of it. Everyone jokes, right? But then she repeated it. And again. And again. By the end of the week, it was my new nickname. Kids passing me in the hallway would whisper it like it was my identity. It wasn't just a word anymore. It was a stain I couldn't scrub off. And here's the thing. Once Maya branded you, you couldn't shake it. People wanted to stay on her good side, so they joined in. They laughed, pointed, and added their own little twists. Suddenly, I was weak, not just in sports, but in everything. Weak for speaking softly, weak for keeping to myself, weak for not fighting back. But there was one person who didn't laugh. Her sister, Emma. Emma was quieter than Maya, softer, almost the opposite of her in every way. Where Maya was fire, Emma was water. She didn't chase attention. She blended into the background. And maybe that's why I never noticed her much before. She wasn't the kind of person who demanded to be seen. Still, she saw me. Really saw me. One afternoon, after another rough day where the whispers felt louder than ever, Emma caught me as I was leaving school. She didn't say much, just a few words. But they hit harder than anything Maya ever threw at me. You're stronger than you think. I remember staring at her, wondering if she was messing with me. But the look in her eyes said otherwise. She meant it. She believed it. And for a split second, I felt different. Like maybe Maya's words weren't the only truth out there. But believing someone else's faith in you is harder than it sounds. Because no matter what Emma said, I knew Maya wasn't finished with me yet. And the storm she was about to bring? It was only just beginning. After Emma's words, I thought maybe things would start to shift. Maybe I'd finally stop caring about what people said. But the truth? It only made Maya push harder. She noticed. Of course she noticed. Maya had this radar for attention. If it wasn't on her, she'd find a way to drag it back. And the moment she saw me walk through the halls with my head a little less heavy, she made sure to crush it. "Don't get too comfortable," she whispered once as we passed in the hallway. Her smile looked sweet, but her eyes, they weren't. "Everyone knows who you really are." I tried to brush it off, but then came the rumors. Small at first, someone saying I cried in class, another saying I couldn't even stand up for myself in group projects. None of it was true, but that didn't matter. When Maya spoke, it spread. And people believed her version faster than they'd ever believe mine. It felt like walking through quicksand every single day. The harder I tried to fight back, the deeper I sank. I couldn't even tell if my friends were on my side anymore. Some stayed quiet, too afraid of being Maya's next target. Others drifted away completely. And me? I started wondering if being invisible would have been better after all. But Emma, she kept showing up. Not loudly, not in big gestures. Just small moments that stuck. A nod across the cafeteria. A few words in passing. One time she even stood between me and a group of kids who were laughing. She didn't say much, just looked at them until they backed down. It should have felt like a relief. But deep inside, I knew Maya wouldn't let that slide. Her sister standing up for me? That wasn't just an insult to her, it was a challenge. And soon enough, the tension between the two of them started to show. Little arguments in the hallway. Snapped words at home that spilled over into school. I didn't hear all of it, but I could feel it. Maya wasn't just coming after me anymore. She was ready to go after anyone who dared to side with me. The worst part? Emma didn't back down either, which meant the fight wasn't just mine anymore. It was theirs too. And I had no idea how far Maya was willing to take it. Things started to feel heavier, like every hallway was a stage and every glance was loaded. Maya wasn't just throwing casual insults anymore. She was orchestrating something bigger. You could tell by the way she whispered to people, how conversations stopped the second I walked into a room. It was like a storm building on the horizon. You can't see it yet, but you can feel it in the air. Emma noticed too. I could see it in her face whenever she caught sight of me. The way her eyes narrowed like she was already bracing for what was coming. She'd ask me quietly if I was okay, if I needed anything, but I never really knew what to say. How do you explain the weight of being torn down day after day, knowing the person behind it all is someone who once smiled at you like a friend? The whispers grew into taunts. Notes slipped into my locker. Anonymous messages online. Some days I wanted to scream, others I just wanted to disappear. And every time I thought it couldn't get worse, it did. Because Maya wasn't satisfied with just me being humiliated. She wanted Emma to pay too. Their fights at home started spilling out into school. Once, I caught them arguing by the lockers. I couldn't hear every word, but I caught enough. "You don't know what you're talking about," Maya hissed. "Yes, I do." Emma shot back, her voice trembling but steady. "You don't get to decide who's strong and who's not." The hallway went quiet. Everyone was listening, pretending not to. I froze, caught between gratitude and guilt. Emma was defending me, but at what cost? Maya's glare that day was colder than anything I'd ever felt, and I knew it wasn't going to end there. Then came the day of the assembly. The entire school packed into the gym, the kind of event where no one could hide. That's when I felt it. Maya's eyes on me, sharp and calculating. She had something planned, I could tell. Emma sat a few rows away, and when our eyes met, she gave me the smallest nod, like she knew too. My stomach twisted. Whatever Maya was about to do, I wasn't sure either of us was ready for it. The principal's voice echoed, announcements droning on, but I barely heard a word. My heart was pounding too loud. I saw Maya lean toward a group of students, whispering, smirking, and then glancing back at me. The laughter that followed felt like a countdown. I gripped the edge of my seat, every nerve on fire. Emma was watching too, her jaw tight, fist clenched. Something was about to happen, something public, something humiliating. And just as the principal handed the microphone to the student council, Maya stood up, smiling like she owned the room. What she said next would change everything. Things started to feel heavier, like every hallway was a stage and every glance was loaded. Maya wasn't just throwing casual insults anymore. She was orchestrating something bigger. You could tell by the way she whispered to people, how conversations stopped the second I walked into a room. It was like a storm building on the horizon. You can't see it yet, but you can feel it in the air. Emma noticed too. I could see it in her face whenever she caught sight of me. The way her eyes narrowed like she was already bracing for what was coming. She'd ask me quietly if I was okay, if I needed anything, but I never really knew what to say. How do you explain the weight of being torn down day after day, knowing the person behind it all is someone who once smiled at you like a friend? The whispers grew into taunts. Notes slipped into my locker. Anonymous messages online. Some days I wanted to scream, others I just wanted to disappear. And every time I thought it couldn't get worse, it did. Because Maya wasn't satisfied with just me being humiliated. She wanted Emma to pay too. Their fights at home started spilling out into school. Once, I caught them arguing by the lockers. I couldn't hear every word, but I caught enough. "You don't know what you're talking about," Maya hissed. "Yes, I do." Emma shot back, her voice trembling but steady. "You don't get to decide who's strong and who's not." The hallway went quiet. Everyone was listening, pretending not to. I froze, caught between gratitude and guilt. Emma was defending me, but at what cost? Maya's glare that day was colder than anything I'd ever felt, and I knew it wasn't going to end there. Then came the day of the assembly. The entire school packed into the gym, the kind of event where no one could hide. That's when I felt it. Maya's eyes on me, sharp and calculating. She had something planned, I could tell. Emma sat a few rows away, and when our eyes met, she gave me the smallest nod, like she knew too. My stomach twisted. Whatever Maya was about to do, I wasn't sure either of us was ready for it. The principal's voice echoed, announcements droning on, but I barely heard a word. My heart was pounding too loud. I saw Maya lean toward a group of students, whispering, smirking, and then glancing back at me. The laughter that followed felt like a countdown. I gripped the edge of my seat, every nerve on fire. Emma was watching too, her jaw tight, fists clenched. Something was about to happen, something public, something humiliating. And just as the principal handed the microphone to the student council, Maya stood up, smiling like she owned the room. What she said next would change everything. Maya grabbed the mic like she'd been waiting her whole life for this moment. She flashed that perfect smile, the one that made people lean in before realizing they'd been tricked. And then, she said my name. The gym fell silent. My chest tightened as she spun a story about me, painting me as someone fragile, broken, too soft for the world. Every word dripped with fake sympathy, the kind that makes people nod along while secretly laughing. I could feel hundreds of eyes burning into me, waiting to see how I'd react. But before I could even stand, another voice cut through the air. Emma. She didn't wait for permission, didn't care about the rules. She marched right up to the stage, her voice shaking but loud enough for everyone to hear. "You're wrong. You don't get to define him. He's stronger than you'll ever admit." The crowd gasped, whispers erupting. Maya's smile faltered for the first time. But then, she laughed. Not out of nerves, but like she wanted Emma to do this. Because suddenly, it wasn't just about me anymore. It was about the sisters. And the secret Maya had been holding back was about to break us all. The gym felt like it was holding its breath. Maya stood there with the microphone, Emma just a step away, and me frozen in the crowd, wishing the ground would open up. Then Maya's voice cut through the whispers. "Stronger than me?" she said, her tone sharp as glass. "Funny coming from you, Emma. Should I tell them why you've been defending him so much?" Emma's face went pale, but she didn't move. She knew what was coming. Maya turned to the audience, her words slicing like knives. "She's not protecting him because he's strong. She's protecting him because she's in love with him." Gasps rippled through the gym. My heart stopped. "Love?" Emma's eyes flicked to mine, wide and trembling, but not denying it. My mind spun, trying to catch up, but the noise around me was deafening. Laughter, whispers, shock. Maya smiled like she'd won, like she had finally destroyed us both in one clean strike. But then Emma did something I never expected. She took the mic. Her hands were shaking, but her voice rang clear. "Yes, I care about him. Because I see what none of you do. You call him weak. He's the strongest person here. strong enough to stand in this storm and still keep going. The crowd hushed. Emma's words hung heavy in the air. And in that silence, for the first time, I didn't feel ashamed. I felt seen. Maya's victory slipped through her fingers. Her smirk faltered as people turned their eyes on her instead, questioning, doubting, wondering who was truly the stronger sister. But just when I thought it was over, Maya whispered one more thing into the mic, low and cold. "You think this is strength? You haven't seen what he's hiding yet." The gym erupted, voices colliding, but I couldn't move. Because deep down, I knew Maya wasn't bluffing. She still had one more secret. For a moment, it felt like the whole gym was tilting, like everyone was waiting for the ground to split open. Maya had tossed out her final threat, dangling it like a weapon. But the truth? She didn't have another secret. Not really. The only thing she had left was fear. Fear that people were starting to see through her. And for the first time, I didn't flinch. I didn't shrink back. I stood up. My legs were trembling, but my voice came out steady enough for everyone to hear. "You've called me weak so many times, I almost believed it. But you know what's really weak? Tearing people down just to feel powerful. If that's strength, then I don't want it." The silence that followed wasn't the mocking kind anymore. It was different, heavier, sharper, like people were rethinking everything they'd just witnessed. Emma stood beside me, her hand brushing mine, not pulling, just steadying. And in that moment, I realized she hadn't given me strength. I'd had it all along. She just reminded me it was there. Maya's face shifted. For once, her perfect composure cracked. Maybe it was shock, maybe anger, maybe both. She opened her mouth like she wanted to fire back, but nothing came. And the longer the silence stretched, the clearer it became. Her power was gone. Not because I defeated her, but because people finally stopped believing her. After the assembly, the whispers were different. No one called me weak anymore. Some kids avoided me, sure, embarrassed at how easily they'd gone along with her game. Others offered small nods, awkward apologies, like they didn't know how to undo the damage but wanted to try. As for Emma, she didn't say much. She didn't need to. The way she looked at me, calm, proud, unshaken, was enough. We didn't talk about what Maya said on stage, about love. Maybe it was true, maybe it wasn't. But in that moment, it didn't matter. What mattered was that she believed in me when no one else did. And that belief changed everything. Maya faded after that. Not overnight, but slowly. People stopped hanging on her every word. Her fire dimmed when there was no one left to fuel it. And though she tried to claw back control, the more she pushed, the less people listened. I'm not going to pretend life became perfect. People still talk. Rumors never really die, but I don't hear them the same way anymore. Because now, when someone tries to define me, I ask myself one simple question. Do I believe it? And most of the time, the answer is no. The truth is, strength doesn't always look like shouting the loudest or standing in the spotlight. Sometimes, it looks like surviving the storm and still finding a reason to keep going. And if I ever forget that again, I know there's at least one person who'll remind me. Because in the end, she was right. I was never weak.